Poo-poots. May I say hello? Hey friends, today we're gonna do something that I'm like really excited to do today. We're gonna explore plant styling with different interior design styles. Now, full disclaimer before we get started. I am not an interior designer, and I'm not really here to teach you about interior design. I'm here to teach you about plant styling with different interior design styles. I do feel pretty confident that any interior designer would probably rip my home to shreds and just read me for filth for my interior design style because I'm a plant collector. I'm not like actively trying to make my home look its best. I enjoy collecting plants. It's something that I do. So there's a lot of plants in my home, but I do have a really, really good understanding of how to plant style a space from working with plants as my full-time job for the last 8 years. I feel like I have a lot to offer on this topic, and I'm really excited to explore this and share this with you today. So without further ado, let's get started with our first interior design style. We're gonna start off by talking about mid-century modern. I feel like this is an interior design style that a lot of younger people gravitate towards, as well as a lot of people who are interested in indoor gardening. So I do feel like it has like a lot of relevancy in the indoor gardening world. All of the backdrops that we are working with today, also if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my computer, I'm looking at the same exact thing that you're looking at. All the backdrops are from Canva, so that they're like copyright free. So they're not necessarily going to be like the best examples of their design styles, but they're going to be examples at the very least. This mid-century modern sitting room area is definitely like Wayfair or Article or Joybird's like envision of what mid-century modern is. So it's not like authentic mid-century modern, but I still think it's a good example for us to work with today. There are already a couple plants in this setup. Let's just ignore the ones on the windowsill for right now. And we have this coffee table with a pilea peperomioides on it, which I love this coffee table. I'm not gonna lie, I have a coffee table very similar to that one, but it's kind of in our way. So let's just get rid of that real quick. We're going to put a floor plant there. This space requires a floor plant. What kind of floor plant though? I feel like the first plant that always comes to my mind that looks just like amazing with mid-century modern style is going to be the umbrella tree, or the Schefflera. This one's the Schefflera arboricola. It's probably the most like common Schefflera variety that you're going to find out there, or it is the most common Schefflera variety, and one of the most common plants too. So you could get a really large one for a really low price in comparison to other plants of the same size. This one has some beautiful yellow variegation that I feel like really does tie in well with the rest of the furniture that's in the area. There is another variety of Schefflera, the Schefflera amate, or the Schefflera actinophylla amate, and there is a couple different varieties of that does have larger leaves that would also look amazing in this space. That vibe totally checks out, totally fits the scene. The large shiny leaves look amazing here. This also kind of reminds me of a Natal mahogany, which would also look amazing in this space. All three of these plants just are perfect right off the bat. Just like 3 plants that would just look so amazing in this space. I think I want to stick with the first one, the Schefflera arboricola. I like the color of it. I like how accessible it is. I feel like the other 2 plants are technically like a little less accessible, although they're still decently common. But like you could walk into like any big box store and find like a nice looking, maybe not this nice looking, but like a nice looking Schefflera arboricola with variegation, without variegation, or with different types of variegation. So there's a lot to choose from. I do really appreciate like the bushiness here too, although maybe you could argue that because the chair is wide, a taller tree would look nicer. But I really like how much, I think the Schefflera takes up like the perfect amount of space here. But this planter is just like not doing it. I feel like a really safe bet with pretty much any interior design style, but particularly mid-century modern, is going to be terracotta. It's also like incredibly inexpensive. Once again, you could find that at pretty much any big box store. So one and done if you're just looking for like a large floor plant like that. I feel like a plain terracotta pot looks amazing. I feel like you could go the extra mile. They do have terracotta pots with different like designs or different shapes. I really like this one here that has this like pattern on the like rim of it, or right below the rim, and then also has like a different shape to it. I think that really stands out. I think that looks amazing. It would obviously need a saucer, but I think I really like the way that this looks. Or you could go the direction of like a glazed planter. This one is a planter that I often recommend to people from Amazon if they're looking for just like a simple floor planter that's going to fit like pretty much any home. White is always a safe bet. I'm not obsessed with white myself. I know it's pretty safe, but I don't know if I would personally go with white here, but I feel like a lot of people would like white. Some people might gravitate towards the like classic case studies planter with the plant stand. I feel like it's been duped a lot, but that's like the classic one is by Case Study. There's a lot of legs going on. I feel like this is more a planter for like a standalone plant in like the corner or like a statement plant, not necessarily something that's going to go along with your furniture, especially mid-century modern furniture is a lot of legs. It's very leggy. The darker tone wood does look nice with the other tones of the wood with the furniture and the wood on the floor. So it's like nice to have that dark tone of wood for sure. But I would probably just stick with the one that doesn't have the legs. It's just too much legs. It's legs for days. Honestly, I wouldn't even go in this direction. I think I would land on that terracotta pot that has the design and the like fun shape to it. I think it just fits so well. The orange terracotta just looks so good with the wood. Like I said, obviously it would need a saucer, but this isn't real. This is just for fun. So on the right side of that chair, I'm really tempted to hang a plant here. I love hanging plants. I think hanging plants really do fit the vibe of mid-century modern as well. Of course, the classic spider plant would look amazing here, especially as those babies start to like dangle down. I do really love the way that that looks. I think that fits the vibe. I also think that golden pothos would look really good here because it kind of ties in to the foliage of the Schefflera arboricola. Like they have almost the same exact like leaf color and variegation, but completely different leaf shapes and styles. Not to mention, in this case, they both kind of tie into the two furniture pieces that are in this display. It's hard because the spider plant does look very good. It looks very, very good, but I think the golden pothos is the direction that I want to go. It does just kind of tie everything together. When it comes to hanging planters, I'm not sure what people might think of first. I think a lot of people might think about like a macrame hanger, which is just, that's very boho. I think that kind of is not going to complement mid-century modern furniture very well. I really like this hanging planter by Kinto, which is a great pottery company. Oh, and this looks amazing with the golden pothos. Let's just pretend that there's ceiling up here beyond the photo, but that's fun. I really like the contrast between the two planters, although they do have a very similar shape. That is true, but I do really love the like beige ceramic versus the terracotta ceramic, and the beige just kind of, it blends in. It's not pulling attention, which I think is really important with hanging plants. You really want the plant to be like the focal piece. You don't want the planter in that case. Also, a pothos is just going to envelop whatever planter it's in. So I guess it doesn't matter that much, but I like this a lot. The spider plant would look really good here too, but yeah, the pothos is my pick. I'm gonna land on that. And I do want to put a plant in the windowsill, so let's get rid of this little dragon tree that is kind of hard to see here. I feel like we really need a plant that's going to contrast a lot with the two plants that we have already because they do tie in together very nicely, but if it was just those two plants, I don't think it'd be very exciting. They do a really good job at adding to the space, but they don't complete the space. So let's do like a cactus or something. I really like this euphorbia that's got these like fun arms, very different style, very different shape than any of the other plants that we have here. Completely contrast, and it's obviously a great plant to have on the windowsill since it does require a lot of light. The planter, not gonna work. I really love these planters by Brunning Pottery. I have a bunch of these around my home. I really love the shape of them. I think it looks really good here. The thing is, the shape is like the exact same shape as the other two planters, and I'm like married to those at this point. So let's go in the opposite direction and try out like a planter that has a completely like concave, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Like it goes up this way instead of this way. Okay, this planter is also by Kinto, the people who do the hanging planter. So kind of ties them together. I love the color. It kind of goes well with the wood and the yellow chair a lot. And the shape is completely different than the other two. This is perfect. I honestly don't think this needs anything else too. I didn't really say at the beginning of this video. I probably should have. I'm not tackling this in the way that I would do like plant styling in my home. This is more like a do as I say, not as I do. I'm tackling this from like I don't have any plants and I just want a couple, like a normal person would. Not that I'm not normal, but I'm definitely not normal with all the plants that I have in my home. But yeah, I'm approaching this from a much more like minimalist perspective. I definitely don't want to use any more than like 5 or 6 plants in these displays, but I don't think mid-century modern requires that many plants. I think these couple of statement plants in this specific space really just complete it. Chef's kiss. Okay, I'm really happy with this. Let's move on to the next style. Next up is industrial, which is a really fun style as somebody who lives in the city, especially in the neighborhood that I live in. I live in Old City, Philadelphia right now, so a lot of the homes in this area are all like warehouses that were renovated into like loft apartments. You can kind of see I live in a, not necessarily a loft apartment, but a very like lofty apartment that was definitely something that wasn't an apartment before it was turned into an apartment. So I have a lot of respect for this interior design style, although it really necessarily isn't my thing. I do really appreciate it. So we have this living room area here. Once again, this is just like a stock footage from Canva, so we're just working with what we got. That fireplace thing is a little out of this world. Let's just get rid of that. I don't want that here. We obviously need to do a floor plant in this space. There is very, very high ceilings, so we want a plant that's going to grow tall. There is a lot of space for it. Those windows are so tall too, so the plant's going to get a lot of light. So I definitely wouldn't do something like a monstera. That's not going to get very tall unless you have it climb up, and it's just gonna look kind of weird as things climb up. Climbing plants just don't look very natural. Like I said, I'm not an interior designer, but I have a feeling that interior designers do not like climbing plants. So we're gonna not go in that direction. I feel like another thing that people would probably go for or reach for is like a fiddly fig. This fiddly fig is definitely fake, but I think it shows you the vibe. It does look good. But I mean, I would just never push anybody in the direction of buying like a full-on fiddly fig tree, because in most cases, it's not going to look like that for very long. And while it might look good from a plant styling aesthetic, I also want to think about how things will look a couple months after the plant has been put in that space, and a fiddly fig isn't going to look amazing for a long time in most people's care. So let's not do that. I feel like another option would be a Dracaena. There's a whole lot of Dracaena varieties. They are most oftenly sold in like little stackables. I don't know how to word it, where there's just like a couple of different sizes in the pot. They definitely have a very like man-made and manufactured appearance though. And the thing about industrial design is it's very man-made and manufactured. So we do not want that, although this plant does have a great vibe. If you get lucky, maybe at like mom and pop nurseries or maybe on like Facebook Marketplace, you could find Dracaenas that have a lot of character. I really like the way that this one looks right here, that you can tell it probably was bought as like something that looked very manicured and manufactured, but as it's grown over time, it's got a lot more of an organic shape. Not completely organic, if I'm being honest, but it's got a lot more of the vibe that I'm going for. And it's got some height to it, which is really quite nice. Let's get rid of whatever that little planter thingy is there. I feel like it's just like so tempting to just go for like that white planter that I showed in the last setup at first, or like the black version of that, because it obviously fits the space and it is very cohesive. I would absolutely push someone in the direction of going with a color. Even a muted color is fine, like this like sage green here, but like it's better than white or black or something completely neutral. It does have a lot of neutral vibes though. I would harshly recommend going for a color. Look at how amazing this yellow ochre planter looks in this home. That looks so good. It's like the first thing that everyone is going to notice when they come into your space for the best reasons. It looks amazing with the Dracaena marginata. It pops so well. It's so bright. It's right by the window, so it's really just going to brighten things up in such a dark space, like a space that has a lot of dark vibes, even though there is a lot of light in the home. So that does such a wonderful job brightening up. Concrete is just so cool toned that it really does require like that just like intense color, in my opinion at least. Let's add another floor plant into this space. Let's get rid of that vase in the back. We don't need it. Let's put a plant in the corner, like kind of like tucked in. As you can see, like the concrete kind of like goes back over there. I love the idea of a snake plant. Snake plants really fit industrial vibes really well. They do have a very structural appearance, as does industrial design. So I think it kind of fits hand in hand, and they don't look very like manufactured like I was talking about. While they do have that very structural appearance, they do not look man-made at all. Because this isn't the statement plant, I wouldn't recommend stealing the show from the plant with the yellow planter. I would do something that kind of blends in. I do really like this black planter. I think white would stand out way too much, and I feel like white and black would be the first things that people reach for, or gray, but like don't do gray. Don't do gray. Like gray terracotta is fine in situations, but like do not buy a glazed gray planter. That would just look so drab. So yeah, let's stick with the planter that this originally had on it with the black planter. I think that fits in really, really well. It's not going to steal the show. People are going to notice it, but no one's going to point it out when they come in your home. They're going to point out that Dracena marginata for certain. There's a lot of wall here, and the concrete is very, it needs to be brightened up. The thing is, I'm kind of torn because I wouldn't do a hanging plant in this space. The ceilings are way too high. That's just not accessible. Like the plant's gonna die like in a week because you're never gonna go up there to water. It's gonna require a ladder. It's too much work. I guess like a shelf is an option. I just feel like a shelf on this wall, there's not gonna be a shelf that's big enough. There's not, a little shelf just looks a little like out of place. Like I said, I'm not talking about interior design today. I do feel like this wall is like the perfect opportunity for a piece of art instead of a plant. I literally just typed in abstract art on Canva and this is what came up. So obviously there would be like an actual piece of art on this wall, but I do feel like that's better in terms of bringing like height to the room. You could do the shelf and the art, but no, the shelf is too much. The shelf is not it. What I would probably do instead is, I know that West Elm has these like ceramic wall planters. I've never used them myself. I do really like the way that they look. They only come in white and black, and that doesn't really fit my aesthetic. But in this case, I feel like they would work, particularly the black, because the white's just, I don't love white planters. I know it's safe. It's just not my thing. So I guess we could try like a black wall planter here and try like a philodendron in it. Philodendron hederaceum, philodendron Brazil, something just like standard that's not going to steal attention. It does look pretty cute. Let's keep it for now. Obviously we have these huge windows, so we're going to put plants in the windowsill. Not too many, like I said. My temptation as a plant collector would be to fill the whole windowsill to the brim. But like I said, an interior designer would totally rip apart my home. Probably for that reason, because they would say it looks like a hoarder's nest. So we're not gonna do that. Let's put a plant in the window, a Pilea peperomioides. So cute here, perfect plant for a bright light. Let's add another little one, like a little cactus or something, just to round it out. You could do more than that. I feel like you should always use like three or five. Probably three in this case because we want to use less. You don't want just like two things. It looks a little intentional. It looks way more unintentional when you use odd numbers of things. So yeah, it's fine. We're just gonna put the two, pretend there's a third one. Now there's these coffee tables. It's tempting to put a plant on there too. I feel like, in my opinion, coffee table is not really the place for a plant. Just from like a functional standpoint, aesthetically, it could look cute, but I don't know. It's not really something that I subscribe to. But we could do a little plant on the table, a little something or other, something with a little bit of like design on it that's very small, like a little Photonia or something. Might go actually a little bit better is like a terrarium, because industrial is so manufactured. I'm using this word a lot, I apologize. A terrarium is almost like a chunk of the earth that you brought inside. I guess you could argue that plants are like that too, but like a terrarium really like encapsulates it. So I feel like that's like a necessity in this home. I'm so tempted to like put like an IKEA greenhouse cabinet in here because it would look amazing, but like, I know, I hear interior designers screaming at me right now. So let's just do the terrarium. In fact, I don't think the terrarium really needs to be on the coffee table. I think it would look better on like a little like plant stand over by the window or something. I guess it's not amazing, but like something better than that. Not like a stool, but like we're working with what we got here. I think it looks good for that. Definitely something like dark. I do like that this has metal legs because it does provide some like materiality with the chrome finish compared to everything else in the apartment, which obviously fits the industrial vibe. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the plants today. I like the philodendron. I feel like we could do without it. I feel like that wall is just begging for just one big art piece. Maybe something even a little bit bigger, like longer to fill up more of the wall. Okay, this works. Like I said, I typed in abstract art on Canva, so it's not, this is given like Marshall's art, but you know, pretend. But yeah, I'm here for this. I like the way that this looks. I think this isn't too busy. The yellow planter is the star of the show. You could have just like the yellow planter in the tree and the snake plant in the back, but like, you know, I love plants on the windowsill, kind of my thing. With those windowsills, it's required. And I do feel like a terrarium would just really just bring this space home, just bringing that little sense of an ecosystem indoors in such a small enclosed space. I think that's just the piece de resistance. Okay, let's quit while we are ahead. I could do a lot more of this space, but let's move on to the final style that we are going to tackle today. Oh boy, so I have a feeling that interior designers hate Bohemian style. However, I feel like a lot of indoor gardeners probably gravitate towards this style, so I absolutely have to talk about it today. So we have this dining area, once again provided to us copyright free by Canva, and it's cute. I actually really like the chairs. I like the idea of the white table, the white pedestal. We're not talking about interior design though, so let's just make some room. Let's get those things off of the table. We don't need those there. We're going to need that surface space for plants, obviously. But I'm actually drawn to that back corner there is begging for a nice tall plant. I feel like when people think boho, they think of those just like carefree, whimsical, frilly vibes. Most people are going to probably go to like their local Home Depot and just buy like a Majesty palm, which never do. Please, I know they're like $15 for a huge plant. They're $15 for a reason, because they're not meant to be sold as houseplants. They're for like photo shoots, like weddings, when you need like palms in the background, or if you need something for like your patio or your balcony for the summer months that's going to die when the winter months come. It's the perfect option for that. It's a horrible houseplant, so please avoid that. There are other palms that you could use, like a fishtail palm. That would look amazing here. In fact, that looks incredible. That looks so good. The green really pops. I really love the way that it looks with the color. I do have a different perspective on this though. I feel like I'm gonna blow your mind, okay? Instead of a palm, hear me out. Instead of a palm, we're gonna use a false Aurelia. Mind blown. Doesn't that look amazing? It's not stealing the show, but it's the star of the show at the same time. Now, these are often sold much smaller than this. This is probably one that has been grown for a long time. They're usually sold as like smaller bushes that are probably only going to be like waist height, but these are how they look over time. And they look really underwhelming when you first see them in the store, I will admit. So yeah, this is a prime example of why you should be growing false Aurelia in your home. It is like the boho plant. She is the moment. However, that basket planter is awful. Avoid it. I mean, first of all, in this case, there's the basket light fixture that we're gonna keep, so it's too much. Could it be cute in a situation? Yeah, but it's not cute in this situation. So once again, let's just start off safe. That white planter from Amazon. It's too much white. I mean, maybe it's very starkly white in this case from the like cream colors of the wall, so that's not gonna work. Like a cream color planter would probably work. It's a lot of cream. It's too much cream. No. Let's try a color. Okay, so we have this basically the same planter, just in like a green color, like a forest green. That's really safe. That's really nice. I really like the way it looks. Obviously, it brings like the green into the home that we were kind of getting with the palm in like a more muted way. And I feel like people who like boho love green because they love plants. I would be very surprised to find a like boho design home that doesn't have any plants in it. So the green is always welcome, but we're gonna add green with other plants. So let's try like, I do wanna try terracotta. Terracotta is also like boho's best friend. It just really fits the vibe. This is the same planter, once again, just in the terracotta color. I don't know if this is like orange glazed or if it's terracotta. It looks like terracotta. So we're just gonna sneak it back there. That's amazing. The orange just really pops in the space. It's not like overwhelming like the bright white was, but it's not too muted like the green was. This is really cute. I like this. I feel confident with this. Okay, but let's go back to the table because we did remove the vase and stuff. You could do a plant on the table. I'm not like a plant on the dining. I'm not like a plant on the coffee table or the dining room table. I feel like, I don't know why. It's also just like gonna get in your way. I do feel like we're doing a plant styling video today, so I'm going to put a plant in the middle of the table just because a very boho plant is going to be the Pilea peperomioides for sure. This really fits the design to the T. Once again, it's just, you're just gonna be staring at a Pilea plant when you're trying to talk to someone across from the table. Let's try something that's a little bit lower to the table. I feel like some people might be really tempted to do like a succulent or a succulent arrangement in the middle of the table. And while this looks adorable, there's obviously not going to be enough light to sustain that plant. Even though there's direct sun hitting the table, it's not enough light. Succulents like that have to go in a window to guard their full potential. So it's not going to have longevity, and we want longevity here. Something that would probably work a little bit better is like a bird's nest snake plant, a Sansevieria honeyeye. This one's a little bit taller than I would probably prefer. It's just really the only picture I can find, but you can kind of get the idea. I also really like the planter. I like how it's like a little bit beige. I think it pops really nice with the table. It's almost like a middle ground between the table, the chairs, and the wall. So I think that looks amazing. I'm not gonna change the planter here, but I would want like a shorter snake plant. The bird's nest ones usually stay really stout. You can find like smaller varieties than that, but yeah, this is just, yeah, an example. What I would probably recommend over a plant is like a vase or something small with like flowers that aren't too high, that aren't going to affect your vision. This is really cute like this, but it's a plant styling video, so let's just put the Sansevieria there, the snake plant, the bird's nest snake plant. It just needs to be smaller. It looks really, really cute. It just needs to be smaller. We have let that macrame wall hanging stay on this wall for far too long. We need to get rid of that right now. It's boho, but it's not good. So instead, we're gonna put a shelf. We're gonna actually use a shelf this time because a shelf is very boho. I really like this one from Urban Outfitters. I actually have it. You might be able to see behind me here. It's not really in use right now. I'm in a bit of a transitional period here in my home with decorating. So yeah, bear with me. But yeah, I really like this one. I think it's very boho. So let's try that out on the wall. The white beige color though, it's the same color as the wall. It also comes in gold. So let's do the gold. Also, the gold brings some of that materiality that we need in this space. There's no metals. It's all wood and white and wicker. So yeah, the metal just is really going to round it out. And on a shelf like this, you want trailing plants. Let's do a pothos again. Golden pothos is like one of the most safest bets when it comes to plants, especially if you're looking for a trailing plant, golden pothos. All the time. Don't buy a golden pothos unless you're looking for something that's going to trail for days, because it's going to trail for days. You could even do just like all golden pothos and like have a full moment on the wall of golden pothos with like the gold like glimmering through in times when the light shining on it and whatnot. I think that would be adorable. In this case, with the 3 copy and pasted pothos, it does look like a little bit much. So let's just like edit it down. Let's try putting a couple different plants on there. This Hoya looks cute. The philodendron has a similar vibe to the pothos, also cute. Like, it's fine. This is good. It could be better if it was actual plants. Obviously, this is, I said many times, we're working with what Canva's got. So this is good though. I like this. I feel good about this. Some art would be cute there too, but I think if we're working with boho, I'm going to take the advantage to put a little extra plant into the space than most would, because I think boho interior design calls for that. I think it fits really, really well. It goes hand in hand with plants. So let's add another plant then. We have this bench down on the bottom right. Why not just throw like a rubber plant down there? Rubber plants are quintessential boho houseplant. They come in a bunch of different colors. I might actually go for like the green one or the variegated here. The burgundy one, or like the standard one that you're going to see, does have that same exact leaf color as the Falsarellia, so they do kind of really tie in together and allow some of the other houseplants to really be the star of the show while still adding in the texture of a houseplant. So I think that's really cool. Also, it just has like a really different overall aesthetic to all the other plants that we have in this space. I think it's perfect. Okay, now I think it's time to rein it in and call it quits with this one, because like I said, I'm trying to approach this from the angle or perspective of somebody who is not a plant collector like me and just wants a couple of really well thought out, intentionally placed plants in their home that just look like they've been growing there forever. Like you just moved in, they're already there. That's kind of the goal. Like they just grew into the house. Like you did nothing, they just appeared. That is the goal. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I had so much fun talking about this topic. I would love to explore this more again in the future. So please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this or what interior design styles you would like me to explore and plant style with next. And maybe one day I could even do some like plant styling mock-ups of your own spaces. I don't know, that sounds like a fun idea. So yeah, I don't know. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.